Hello and welcome to the Fairy Elephant Effect, a space for real connection, meaningful transformations, and the gentle but powerful reminder that everything begins and ends with you. This week it is the power of self-love, and we're going to be discussing this because it's an important subject. I am your host, Elizabeth Walter. I'm a life coach and a clarity and growth guide, EFT tapping specialist, and somebody who has walked the winding path back to self-worth more than once. And in today's episode, we will be exploring the very heart of that journey and why the power of self-love is so important. Now, before you roll your eyes, just stay with me for a moment and, because I'm not talking about bubble baths and feel-good mantras. I'm talking about the kind of self-love that rebuilds your emotional spine. That kind of whispers you matter even when the world has become silent. Let me begin with a line from my book, The Fairy Elephant Effect. And it says, start where you are because you matter. Everything begins and ends with you. These words are more than a quote. They're a call to show up, to start again, to honour yourself even in the mess. Because we do have messes in our lives. We end up in corners and sometimes we do not know why or how we got there. Because when we start to show up for ourselves differently, our hearts expand, our world becomes brighter, and when we change then we can change the energy in every room we walk into. So today I invite you to slow down and to listen and remember, self-love isn't selfish, it's sacred. So self-love isn't always pretty. It isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it's choosing not to abandon yourself in the chaos of the day. Sometimes it's saying no to things that you had once tolerated because now you have remembered you are worth more. Saying no is a huge step towards self-love. And I know for many people, and myself at times, it was really difficult to do because we have been kind of really put in this position where we're supposed to be nice all the time, and being nice means we say yes, but being kind to ourselves and to others means we say no. And sometimes it's simply pausing long enough to say I matter, because that sometimes just having that little interruption becomes enough to keep you staying the course of giving yourself self-love and knowing that you actually matter so much. So when we start showing up for ourselves, not in big grand gestures, but in the daily choices, something shifts. Our hearts soften, our minds settle, our intentions get clearer, and as I say, the world gets brighter. But not just our world, because the truth is, your self-love doesn't stop with you. This is one of the things that, when people start doing the work on themselves, what starts coming into their life? It's like the dominoes start falling over and you start seeing things that you didn't even know existed for you. Because when you honour yourself, when you commit into becoming the most whole version of yourself, it ripples out. It goes out into that pond, into your orbit. It affects how you speak to your children, how you hold space with your friends, how you walk into your workplace, how you exist in the world. We don't end up in low-level lives overnight because many of us, or some of us, or even all of us, have been in places where we have lived from a low-energy life. We drift into it. We get there because we're tired. We've become reactive, restless and resigned to our life. We live without clear intention, on autopilot. I know I did. I didn't have intentions for the day. I just drifted through. How many of you have drifted through your day? And when we are in those spaces, we often settle into patterns that keep us stuck. Comparison, complaining, gossip, blaming others, not because we're bad, but because we're disconnected from ourselves, from our worth, and from our centre. This is where self-love becomes a reinvigoration for our life. And we are reclaiming something more than just living in a drifting way. And the self-love is not vain. It's not that arrogant kind of love, but a powerful, grounded remembering that says, I'm allowed to value myself. I'm allowed to take up space. I am worthy, and before I prove, before I produce, before I please, I am enough. I'm enough without having to do anything to prove that I'm allowed to take up space. And when we connect with that inner compass, whether you call it God, the divine source, your higher self, it changes the way we move through life. You start to notice how much more wisdom lives within us. And there is layers of wisdom inside of us. But when we are living a low-level life, when we are drifting, we cannot access it. We become more inspired, more directed, more aligned. And when we tether to our own truth, we stop looking outward for validation. Now that is huge. When we don't have to look out there to have our value felt, known, shown to us, where we know we are value, that changes so many things in your life. Think about it for a moment. How many times do you have to seek outside validation? How many times do you need someone to tell you that you're okay, you're going in the right direction, or how wonderful? How many times do you look for that? Because I am telling you a truth. When you start having self-love, people compliment you, people add to the value that you have, but they are not where the value comes from. Your inner knowing is where the value comes. And it is like you are standing up stronger, firmer, and you are tethered in a grounded, beautiful, consistent way. And we start showing up with calm conviction. Maybe you've been living a life that feels a bit like a loop, where nothing really seems bad, but nothing feels deeply alive either. Well, that's often a sign that it's time to start again. Time to come back to you, to drop into the simple truths of you matter. Now, if you don't know how to come back to you, if you haven't done that before, hey, work with me. I can help you get that clarity. I can help you be in that place. If that's something you're ready for that, I'm really here to help you. I've got a couple of ways that could happen. And, you've always been enough. You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to become your higher self overnight. But you do have to start. So today, ask yourself, what does love in action look like for me? Where am I abandoning myself? Where can I return to, or where can I start to belong to again? Because when you begin to honour yourself, to trust yourself, to be kinder to yourself, you raise the frequency of everything around you. I have a great saying. It's not my saying. It's been around. I attract, I don't chase. Because when you start to stand in your power and have self-love and are connected, you attract things into your life. When you chase, that's like asking for validation. When you're chasing, do you like me? Do you want me? Are you interested in the things? Am I good enough? All those questions are chasing questions, and that's because you need external validation. Come into self-love, come into being connected, come into the inner well, the wisdom, and then you start attracting things into your life. And that is beautiful. So that is kind of the fairy elephant effect in motion. When we start to let go of the old stories and narratives that we've been holding, like, living a low level life, having poor self-esteem, not being able to know that we have value and that we are enough. When we come into that self-love, when we come taking those small steps on a daily thing, when we start considering who we are matters, then the slow, soft, meaningful ripple of love will change our lives. So start where you are and take the first step, because your life, your joy, your healing, your clarity begins with how you treat yourself. And as I'm going to say maybe a million times in my life, you matter. You're the most important person in the room, because your perspective, your emotions, your thoughts, your connection, it all starts with you. And it all ends with you. And if you can change how you feel about yourself and create self-love as something that is important, you are beginning a new life. And in that life can only get bigger, brighter, and more magical for you. I'm Elizabeth Walter. Thank you for joining me today on the Fairy Elephant Effect, and we will see you again or talk to you again next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye for now.